What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Master Crafted. Today we are talking all about knights. It is me and Phil as always, and we got our good buddy Steve and our good buddy Andy. They are here to talk about their respective Imperial and Chaos knight brethren that they got to play together on Denver 40k Fight Club back in the day, and they're going to be playing potentially at the upcoming May Teams event. We'll see what they're running. They could be running Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights because these new detachments don't seem too bad. They are very reminiscent of you guys' index, and boy howdy, is that nice to see. Steve, how you doing, buddy? Last I saw you, you got a golden ticket at a GT in Denver, dude. How have you been?
So, well, I don't live in Denver anymore. That part's good and bad, but I still have that golden ticket. It was definitely for play and not for paint. I promise.
100%, 100% for play, dude. Crushed them. But go ahead.
Half of that award is play. It's just the other half is paint. It was a fun tournament, and I played a couple tournaments out here, getting used to this new community.
Hell yeah, awesome. Well, I'm glad you are settling in. Phil, how you doing, buddy? Where are you right now?
Crafted on the road this weekend. I am in upstate, or I'm in New York right now, New Jersey technically, to play in the Battle for Salvation Teams tournament. We got Stat Check out here. We got Art of War, Innes Wilson, Liam VSL. All of the big names have descended on New York, and just Phil from Mastercrafted has decided to throw his hat in the ring with a few other Mastercrafted patrons to try to take down some of the top dogs. I am excited. I have brought Broken Toe. We will attempt to get some good reps, play some good players, and try to take Tau to the finish line with my team representing Mastercrafted again. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great weekend.
Hell
Some
yeah,
butt,
buddy.
Phil.
We are very excited to see how this weekend goes, and we'll be following closely. And lastly, Andy, it's been what, a month since we last played? You were trying out some Dark Angels, but I mean, this new detachment. Let's start with Imperial Knights. You got the new sauce. Are you thinking you might switch back with this new detachment available?
Yeah, the Dark Angels and Demons were just a little break, just to give me a little step away from Knights until they got some new stuff. And man, this new detachment is about as good as it gets, to be honest. It takes you back to the Index days, and the Index detachment was amazing. Can't wait to try this out.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, we will go ahead and pull that up, and we'll dive through that one first and kind of go over it. And then, I'm sorry, Steve, we don't have new models to talk about for you, but we will talk about a new model that Andy gets to play with once we're done with his detachment.
I am jealous. It looks cool. I'm probably gonna buy one anyway. If I don't get like 3 defilers, because holy moly, they also look cool and they look good comparatively.
Ridiculous defilers. That's another story.
Yeah. All right, so you guys do get a Feel No Pain back. You just all the time now have a 6-up Feel No Pain, and then the start of every command phase, everybody's healing a wound.
Yeah,
that's solid.
That's amazing. Knights needed that. They need that durability boost since there's only so many models on the table.
I mean, they were so good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's ridiculously good. You figure you got a 26 wound like Questoris chassis that basically adds another 4 to 5 wounds on top of it. So that is huge. They were really missing that when they dropped toughness on them. So that's a big deal, especially with the added wounds.
Yeah, that is definitely a nice defensive buff to see. And if you don't kill them, God, is that going to be annoying that they are slowly going to regain their health? You might just move back and heal up for a turn. But the other great thing, Mysterious Guardian, back on the menu. We can up, down, and night. It does have deep strike. So that was always a huge threat people had to worry about. You get that back. You also get a 5-up invuln that counts for both phases that you can put on a big knight. And then you also get an extra 2 attacks in melee, and then you also get +1 to hit in melee for that same night. I feel like that's a super good enhancement. And last but not least, a simple ignores cover ability, which, as we look towards the future, could be very, very handy. But yeah, I think that is just a very solid detachment rule and a very solid set of enhancements. What are your initial thoughts? Where are you prioritizing these enhancements as you look at them, Andy?
Well, so all 4 of these have use. There's not a bad one in this list. Just kind of jump forward, looking at potentially the build restrictions for 11th edition, and you can have 4 enhancements. I could see all 4 of these being used. They are a little pricey. Mysterious Gardens 35 points. but every single one of these is used. Having Sanctuary, having the 5-up invulnerable save all the time, that is amazing, and it's only 20 points. It kicks up like a Gallant. Nobody plays Gallants because as soon as you send them in, they just die and return. They kill one thing and then they're wrecked in return. This makes them so much more durable, especially with the Feel No Pain on there. The Ignores cover, as you said, leading into 11th, that could be pretty big, but already it's really good, especially if you throw it on something like a Crusader that has a ton of shots, a Paladin that gets +1 AP when it's shooting at the nearest unit. So then its battle cannon is strength 10, 2, 3 damage, rapid fire, and then you put this on there and it ignores cover on top of that. So there's so many uses for this. The Bringer of Justice, I'm looking at putting that on like an Atropos, but it can go on anything. It turns up even like the basic Questoris Knights, which normally only have 4 attacks with their big weapon. Now they have 6 attacks and they're hitting on 2s. So all of these are really good enhancements. I can see every single one of these being used at some point.
Yeah, it's just super solid. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and dive into the stratagems. Phil, why don't you go ahead and at least take us through the first one?
Yeah, absolutely. First one, any phase, one Imperial Knights unit from your army that was just destroyed. You can target that unit with the stratagem, even though it was just destroyed, and your unit's deadly demise ability inflicts mortal wounds on a d6 roll of a 4-up, adding 1 to the result if it's an armor unit instead of only on a 6. I think this is pretty rare. I don't necessarily love this strat. I would much prefer this just to be auto explode. If you're going to pay a CP for it, it's got to be guaranteed. My initial thoughts on this is if it's not guaranteed, I'm not paying for it, because the worst feeling in the world would be like, unless this is going to win me the game, so it could be cute in that aspect of like, hey, I need this to explode. If I do, I deny primary or something like that. Otherwise, I'm probably not using this strat.
Yeah, I agree with you there. These Deadly Demise on a 4-up, this is, I think there's several of these across all the armies.
Yeah.
It's just not useful. What they need to do is they need to make it 2 CP and it auto happens, if that's what they want to do. Spending a CP to 50-50 chance on it, I mean, even 2/3 of a chance with an Armiger is D3, mortal wounds. I mean, I guess if you're gonna die and you have a chance to take out this one thing that has 1 or 2 wounds left or something, and if you do, it's such a big impact, and maybe, or if you have the extra CP, I mean, if you can get a Cerastus Knight to blow up in the middle of your opponent's army, that's a really good deal, because it's D6 + 2, I think, for a Cerastus Knight.
Huge.
And so that's really good, but on a 50-50 shot, unless you have a ton of extra CP and to spend on it, yeah, it's just not, it's not usable. It's kind of a waste.
I mean, it is kind of a 2 CP strat, right? You can reroll Deadly Demises. You could
That's
CP
true.
reroll and
Yeah.
fish for the 4-up. Yeah, but it's still not guaranteed. It does feel bad. It's definitely probably the weakest one in here. It's situational and can be used, but it doesn't feel amazing. Yeah. All right, what's the next one, Andy?
Strength from Exile. This is one of the best strats, if not the best strat in this. There's another one that's really good we'll get to in a little bit, but Strength of Exile, you're shooting or fight phase, 1 Imperial Knights unit from your army, so this could target Armigers as well as the big knights. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, if there are no other friendly units within 9 inches of your unit, reroll hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1. This is really good. They're trying to play on like the free blades being, they're all working independently of each other. That's why you can't be within 9 inches of another unit. But when you have so few units on the board anyway with knights, it's not really hard. And if you're kind of planning into this anyway, you can always move your knights around to make sure you're not within 9 inches. This is amazing in the shooting or fight phase, especially with, you look back at that stratagem where you're getting +2 melee attacks, or the enhancement where you're getting +2 melee attacks and +1 to hit. All the big knights are hitting on 2s then, and they're all hitting with ridiculously big weapons. So, this is a great strat, especially you use it on something like an Atropos. If it's targeting a vehicle or monster, it's already hitting on 2s. So then you're rerolling all your misses. And then if you're targeting another knight, you're wounding on 2s and you're rerolling all your misses on the wound roll. So there's so many uses in this. Imagine this with a Crusader that's standing still, has sustained hits with a battle cannon and a Gatling cannon, all its stubbers, its rocket pod on top. I mean, you're not going to reroll the 2s, but you're getting sustained. You're rerolling all your misses of 1, and then you're rerolling every single wound roll of 1 on top of that. I mean, there's so many uses for this strat. It's probably the best one, the most useful one. It turns knights up to 11, just making them so much more efficient. You know, and being able to take out that thing that they're targeting, rather than the feel bad moment you roll, you know, so many 2s and 1s and you can't do anything about it except maybe reroll 1 to hit rolls. This strat is amazing. Best one, I think, overall, because it's multi-phase, not just shooting or fight phase. It's both.
This is the
So
one you use twice. This is the one on
yeah,
your go turn. You use it shooting and you use it fighting. And you're like, I
absolutely.
save a 2 CP for this go turn, and I'm gonna go with these 2
Yeah,
monsters absolutely obliterate.
yeah.
You
It's
have a
amazing.
very good point there. Is like this is one of those go turn kind of things, and this feels like a go turn kind of army, right? From the strats that we're seeing right now and stuff like that, is you're looking for your one opportunity to cripple your opponent's army beyond the point that they can actually return and actually fight you. So yeah, absolutely fair. This next one, Full Tilt, is a strat that we've seen before. It's 6-inch auto advance, or it's add 6 to the move characteristic, significantly different of models in your unit, or 9 if it's an armor girl or the new Destrier models, which we'll go over in a second. So 6-inch the move characteristic, which is fantastic, or 9-inch if it's the Destrier or the Armiger. I think we love that, right? Mulkey, I think you would be more than happy to see that for any of your Chaos Knights.
It's cute. I just want to say in there, because it's cute for knights. The problem is they don't have any advance in charge. And there's no assault unless you take an errant and give an armiger assault. The Destrier does have assault.
There you
I'll
go.
put that in there.
You're
So
gonna get a little speedy knight sprinting up the board with 2 guns, and they're gonna get to kill something for free.
yeah,
Well, they'll get smacked in the face, but I mean, they're gonna get smacked in the face halfway into their deployment zone. Your opponent will notice that your Destrier moved 25 inches through walls.
Yeah, I do think there is some value in it still. Like I don't think if it did give you advance in charge, but unfortunately, yeah, right, it is in advance. It's still useful with the Destrier in particular, where you still can get assault and stuff. But as I've seen, you know, we've seen only a couple of the layouts going forward and stuff, but just having maybe some of that ability to really hide in certain parts, right? You're not going to have the hidden keyword as knights from everything we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
It might be a little awkward on how you're going to have to deploy. So being able to really have that extra speed to get one thing into this pocket and one thing into the next pocket, it could come up for sure and be very handy, as well as, you know, also if you have assault, that's great.
Yeah, good point, Lane. I think that movement is always good. Like first turn, they're hidden. You do this, they won't be hidden your next turn, and you probably are.
oh yeah, and we'll get to that with the Destriers. You know, I'll bring that up. But yeah, it's definitely. I think it helps the Destriers more than the Armigers, because the only way to get an Armiger to have an assault or advance in charge, you can take a Lancer, give it advance in charge to the Bondsman ability, or you can take an Errant to get assault, which, you know, both are very viable options. Otherwise, you're just moving the Armiger to basically play for scenario or block a lane or get it on an objective or something like that. I don't believe any of the other knights have assault, other than the Lancer has it on its weapon. And as Steve brought up earlier, the Lancer's gun is kind of crappy, but
It's not the point of the Lancer, right?
it's not the point of the Lancer. It's just a little accessory. But yeah, I don't think any of the other knights have assault. I could be mistaken if I might be missing one, but
Yeah, well, we'll see, you know, and it could be one of those things. You're just playing the primary denial game. You just need to make sure you can yeet armigers across the board onto your opponent's natural every turn, right? Could be a game plan. But yeah, we'll keep it moving. Point blank barrage. Basically, all this is saying is you get to shoot into your own combat without suffering the penalty. But however, every one you do roll, you will suffer 1 mortal wound at the end of all your attacks. So, you know, we'll say a Gatling and a rapid fire battle cannon, you'll get a shoot into combat, but you are probably taking at least 6 or more mortal wounds by the time you shoot that many shots. But you can do it.
yeah. And this is the other strat that I was thinking, is kind of pushing it with Strength from Exile as far as which one is the best. Now imagine these strats both used at the same time. Then you're hitting on your natural 3-up for most knights. Like you said, you know, a Crusader with the battle cannon and the Gatling cannon. You're re-rolling your 1s to hit. So you're taking out a lot of those mortal wounds that you'll suffer from hitting yourself with the battle cannon, and also increasing your chance to hit your opponent And on top of that, like with something like the Crusader, then you're also re-rolling those ones to get more sustained hits. Because assuming that it got charged and then you're just turning around and shooting right in combat, like this strat is so good. And then if you imagine it on something like a paladin where it's getting the extra AP on the closest target, or something on an errant where it's getting +1 to hit anyway for targeting the closest unit, this strat is awesome. I mean, it's allowing those shooting knights to not be tied down, to not have to worry about fall back and try to shoot or charge or anything like that. It's basically telling the opponent, hey, look, you can charge me, I'm still going to shoot you. It's not going to stop me from doing what I need to do.
And realistically, the other thing too is I will say I was off a little bit, right? You don't have any double blast weapon load-outed knights,
No.
right? So it's probably not going to be quite 6, but it would be still a fair amount off of how many shots you do get off that damn profile. But I think the more important thing here is it's got so much built-in flexibility with all the terms and conditions, right? No matter what, you can use this. It can literally just be to ignore the -1 to hit because you're in combat. You can be targeting something across the board if you need to, and you're no longer -1 to hit because it just says you ignore the penalty for being in engagement range. That's so valuable, right? Being able to shoot into combat, still great, right? But it really does give you some agency and some use cases that aren't just, yeah, shoot into combat, right? Blast weapons into combat. You don't even have to have blast weapons. Even if you're just shooting into your combat and you're like, oh, cool, well, I just really need to kill this thing. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the thing is too, is you could, if you don't want to risk taking the mortal wounds, you fire the blast weapon still away from you at your regular ballistic skill, and then you're shooting at your feet with whatever, and it's so much versatility with this strat that it just helps knights out so much with not being tied down, not being affected by one little guy tying up a knight and all of a sudden he can't do anything. Yeah, it's extremely helpful. This strat is going to be used a lot. Same with Strength from Exile.
It might not be as good as fallback, shoot, and charge, but damn it, it is a reasonable, second best.
Absolutely.
Crusaders get sustained for standing there. They don't want to fall back. They wanted to stand.
Yeah, they'll just take it. They'll be like, okay.
Okay. Up next, either the shooting or the it is only shooting phase, not the fight phase. You get -1 wound if they are stronger than you are tough. I always love to see that, some added durability. I don't think we need to talk too much about that one. And then last but not least, end of your opponent's fight phase, you can up down 1 armature as long as it is within 9 inches of 1 or more battlefield edges and not in engagement range. So that's pretty handy. It's always nice to be able to reposition, especially with how much more shooty all of your armatures are than a lot of the Chaos Knights ones are. So love to see that.
These are all good. You're going to use all of them. Even Noble Sacrifice, and that one time is going to feel great when it wins the game for you.
Yeah.
You're going to use it a lot of times where it doesn't feel good, but you'll have used everything else to great advantage. Again, full tilt, I want to see 11th more before I give it a full shake. It evens now. Destrier moving 20 plus inches and with assault, people are going to build that.
You can't hide. Sometimes it'd be kind of interesting to throw that. It can, since it's Titanic, it can move over everything. Advance into your opponent's backfield. And okay, hey, I'm right here. Turn around and shoot me, and the rest of my army is going to move up the field. And
what are you
going to do?
Holding your home? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's some play there. A lot, like you said, Steve. There's some play with all of these strats. A couple are definitely really stand above the others, but there's definitely some use of.
Awesome. All right. Well, why don't you go ahead, Andy, and run us through this Knight Destrier's sheet? What are you working with here? This new big man.
When it first came out and the points came out for it, I was not excited. I saw like the Defiler. I'm like, you got to be kidding! They put the Defiler at the same cost as this thing, and I've come around to it. I think there's especially looking at what's coming out for 11th, but even for the end of 10th here, I'm looking at running some of these guys. I may even run 3 of them. And I made the mistake of trying to compare this to, okay, well, for this, I could get almost two armatures. And instead, I started looking at, all right, well, instead of a big knight, I can get this and an armature. And when I started kind of looking at that and looking at the output together, it's really pretty good. So, looking at the stats, 12-inch move, It's pretty fast. The ramjets give you an extra D3-inch movement every time you move. That makes it really good. It's unpredictable. It would have been nice just to get like an extra base 2-inch move. But still pretty good. You know, you hit that 3-inch, it's going to be, you know, flying across the board. Toughness 10, you know, I think people forget how durable armigers were at toughness 10. I did myself. You know, that's pretty good. It makes it so, you know, autocannons, stuff like that, don't just wreck it. Still susceptible to everything that a big knight is, like last cannon, stuff like that. 3 up, 5 up, typical. 18 wounds, I was really hoping for 20 or 22. 18 is only 4 wounds more than an armiger. Still solid. I think in Freeblade, it helps it a lot because with the feel no pain and potentially healing if it's still alive, that helps it maintain some survivability. 18's not a ton for a big knight, but it's still durable. It's got some other rules here that are very interesting. So, you know, that people are either building these 2 guns, 2 melee weapons, or a melee weapon and a gun. And there's debate online about what is the best melee weapon, what is the best gun. Its guns all have assault, which are amazing. It actually has 3 guns because it's got a ridiculous heavy stubber, apparently. Everybody thought that was going to be fixed. But right now, its heavy stubber is the best heavy stubber in the game. Instead of only 3 shots, it has 6 shots and then rapid fire 3. So it's going to mow down infantry if that stays. The Gatling cannon, I think, is the best gun over the frag bombard. It's 1 less strength, strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage, 12 shots at 24-inch range. The frag bombard, in order to get the extra shots, you have to be within 12 inches, which this thing can easily do, but if you're building a shooting version of this, you may not necessarily want to be within 12 inches because then you're going to get charged. And so it's debatable. You know, having the rapid fire D6 plus 3 on the frag bombard is really good. It's blast. So into a 20-man guard unit, it's really good. I like the assault cannon better, the Gatling cannon better. The straight 12 shots, I think, is going to be good. Strength 6 versus strength 7. I mean, there's not a lot of just strength 6 out there. Usually you're winning on 2s or 3s. On anything lower than that, you're winning on 5s on anything above that. There's not a lot of strength 12 either, other than land raiders, some big knights, stuff like that. The melee weapons. This is really interesting because you have a Reaper Chainsword or you have a spear, Thundershock Spear. The spear has lance on both profiles. Can be really, really good. It's so fast. You're going to get the charge a lot of the times. Once it gets stuck in, the lance doesn't really matter. It's got AP 3 on its sweep, which is really good, but it's only strength 6, and you only have 8 attacks. I like the chainsword better. I think it's more versatile. I think against Marines, you're winning on 2s with 10 attacks, and it's AP 2, 2 damage, versus winning on 3s with only 8 attacks on the spear. It's got 1 more attack on the strike than the spear does. Both of them are strength 12, AP 3, D3 plus 3 damage. They're both really good. If you play both of these and just have a melee knight going forward and getting the +2 attacks, I don't think that's a wrong way to do it, but I think it's a really expensive, fragile knight to only just do melee. I think that it needs to be versatile. I'm looking at running the Gatling cannon and the chainsword on mine so that it's a versatile knight. I think knights have to be versatile. I think if you have knights that are only 1 phase, it makes it really hard because they don't have very many models on the board. You need to be able to shoot something and then charge something else. There are some knights that are the exception to this. Rampager is amazing for
Maybe
Steve.
you might think of one.
Yeah, I mean, Lancer's great. The Castellan or the Crusader for big knights is good, but they can pump out the firepower, and it's high strength firepower on some of it at least. The problem this knight runs into is its guns are all AP1. It does have the special rule that when you target something on objective markers, it ignores cover. Normally, that wouldn't really be that big of a deal, but now if you look forward to 11, I think this sheet was really well designed for 11th. And since I've been seeing the rules for the 11th edition come out, this knight is going to shine in 11th edition. Ignoring cover when you're shooting at these big building footprints that are objectives is going to be huge. And you have the speed to get there. And then if you look at, this is a Titanic and towering. It's going to get the new plunging fire rule within 12 inches. So imagine this double gun knight getting within 12 inches, which it'll do because everything has assault. And if you use, like we were talking about that strat from Freeblade where you get +9 inches, this thing's moving 20 something inches across the board, up to like 25, 26, like Steve said, and able to get within 12 inches of the enemy, have plunging fire, you're hitting on twos, it's going to wipe infantry off the board. Even with the AP1, it's still going to do some serious damage with as many shots as it can put into there. So I think this was really well designed for 11th edition. I think it's still a little overcosted. I could see it around 230. Still pricey for its fragility, but I think it's going to be a really fun night to play. I'm excited to even try it in 11th or a 10th edition just to see what it can do.
Yeah, so I think the big thing that I see when I'm looking at this, right, is it's very good at clearing trash, right? It has strike profiles, but in general, it's not built to just handle big targets for the most part, right? It'll clear out small marines, it'll clear out a lot of just general trash very well. And I kind of see these as like the party starter a lot more, right? It's still not that much tougher than a armiger, but people can't just put, as you're saying, their auto cannons, just some meltas in, right? They're still wounding on fives, right? They're going to have to commit a little bit more of their anti-tank. And so I think being able to use these of clearing the way, right? Paving the path for some of your other knights going forward, I think these are going to really be able to do that well, because when you're able to clear off objectives because of the rules this thing has, I think it's going to get a lot of value as like that turn two thing. I yeet across the board at my opponent's natural because it's so fast, and I say deal with me, right? If you can clear them off and do all the shooting, and you didn't even have to step on the profile, because the way a lot of these terrain profiles have been set up is like it's touching the side of the board, and it's just as long as you just go up right up next to it and you just shoot down into it, because they have to be on the terrain to hold it, right? Like you have a very good chance of clearing things off and then being in a very awkward spot. And I think that's going to be a play that's just like, that's going to be a bread and butter play for a lot of people with these knights, with how fast they are and how great they are at clearing chaff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because Andy, I don't know about you, but you could not
Multi,
trust.
do you have any thought on the combination of weapons? Do you think that the split is more in line with what you would run if you had a unit like this, or do you think you would fall in line with, a skew one way or another?
I like having different tools, but I think that in this detachment, I don't think the double guns is problematic, because you're gonna go get charged. You're kind of going for that in this play that Lane's highlighting. You just go steal their natural. You don't die, you still shoot them, because of the strat that this detachment has. I think in other detachments, which I'm not sure we're going to see as much anymore, this is this is probably the new IK best detachment. If you go other ones, I think you do take a melee and a gun, because you getting stuck is too much of a problem for big knights. It's just, if you don't have fallback and shoot and charge, you have a giant liability in your toes. I mean, there's that one where we can fight with our feet, and it's kind of funny, but it's not the solution. Where, in this detachment, I think I'd run 2 guns, and everywhere else I'd throw a sword on them. And then maybe I'd have one just for melee, because we don't have carnivores as IK, but he's not a very good carnivore, and a bit expensive.
Yeah, the only way you're doing that is if you're also giving him the enhancement for an additional +2 attacks and +1 to hit, right? So at that point, you're +4 attacks and +1 to hit, and that's, you have something in mind of why you want that, in your list. That does bring you up to 9 strength 12 attacks, which I don't hate. I think that is worth looking into, right? And then you actually still have the lance profile that's the exact same, right? So I guess it's only 8 technically, but I think that's a great option. If you're going into a T12 target, you definitely want the lance. If you're going into something lower, you can be like, maybe I'll just go with my 1 CP strat here to reroll ones to hit and wound, and we'll just get our efficiency that way. And I think it's at least an option, but I think that's about the only time you're doing double melee is if you're adding 4 attacks and +1 to hit.
Yeah. Otherwise, I see that 5-up invul on this guy for when you go put him in like a tick, and he's going to be really hard to get out.
Awesome. Well, I think we're up to speed on IK. What has been going on the chaos side of the aisle? Steve, we gotta dive into that new that you have, the Hell Hunt Lance, I believe it's called.
Yes, that's what it's called.
Lay it on us. You pre-show, you were like, I got all my shit down. Lay it on us, brother.
Dude, we don't have as many rules, so the ones we want. Infernal, still good. This, fun. The detachment rule, which I'll let us read if we'd like, but I can sum it up for you, is that our big guys have auras. If there are 2 war dogs within your aura, you also get your aura. It's kind of like when IK got to bondsmen themselves. We can aura ourselves now, and that's okay. Plus, you get to reroll ones to hit with Desecrators and Rampagers. You can get cover from a Tyrant, which I think might be interesting in 11th. I'm not certain if it's worth it still in 10th. A Cerastus Castigator can give out Sustained, but we have a strat for that. And, that rule's kind of cool for a few niche cases. I could see doing some things. Then we got some enhancements. We got the Hunter's Helm, reroll advance and charge. It's a cheap one. It should be cheap. It's a cool little thing. We don't get advance and charge, but at least you can reroll that long bomb charge if you need to. Probably the least interesting. Then we have this one, the Octagram of Conjuration. This one is a little expensive because it lets you do something just super annoying. You give your Abominant aura, where every war dog within 9 inches shoots things, they cause battle shocks. And because it's an aura detachment rule, it will also shoot things and cause battle shocks. And then on its tap, it has its own detachment or a index card ability where it causes the battle shocks. You are causing a storm of battle shocks. And that's kind of cute. I don't know how great it is. I mean, I want to play it. I want to try it. I want to see if I can battle shock an entire army. Does that do lots for me? Maybe if I choose the +1 to wound against battle shocked units as part of the army rule. But you have to build for that one, and you have to stay real tight next to an Abominant. Not amazing. Throne Tyrannicus is cool. It is you let another big use its aura, use your aura. So like putting this on a Desecrator, I think this is the other play. You put this on a Desecrator and give your Tyrant reroll 1s, or your Despoiler reroll 1s to hit. That one, a Despoiler, 1 billion shots, rerolling 1s, people will notice even though you don't have sustained or lethal. And then the last one is Aspect of the Beast. You get to choose an additional army rule for you that round, that one guy. So that Despoiler could be +1 to wound battle shocked units, rerolling 1s. Maybe your Abominant got a battle shock off and you're doing some real damage. It's cute. It really goes into the battle shock one way and the idea of knights hanging with little knights, but these enhancements are not as good as the IK ones, quite frankly. They're cool and fun, and they got great names, but I think Aspect of the Beast is really good, but otherwise they're all things that you are going to be building your list around. Like, if you have that Octagram of Conjuration, you are building your list to be an Abominant Battle Shock list. If you have that Throne Tyrannicus, you are gonna try to make sure that your Desecrator is getting one other Shooting Knight popping off. And so it's not as malleable an attachment as others. Though we haven't seen that too. We heard of triple Gatling Despoilers. They're quite.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it's going to take a lot more, not only forethought in your list building, what am I trying to share, but in your positioning the entire game, right? You're going to have to be in specific spots a lot to be able to make these things work, especially when it comes to sharing the Abominant shooting and still trying to get it to do anything, which it's not known for in my opinion. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's very flavorful. But I think the better part of this is the strats, which
Correct,
aren't
sir.
bad.
You're correct, sir.
Yeah. First off, 5-up Feel No Pain Against Mortals. Don't hate that. That can be very useful.
I agree, but I still think one of our less good ones. I mean, and if that's the less good one, it's okay, right? I use this every game. There's gonna be a time where I'm like, I got 3 wounds and you're throwing a grenade at me. I'd like to live.
Yeah. I just need one.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. It'll come up some. Don't hate it. And then sustained hits is our next one. Start of the shooting or fight phase. 1 Titanic Chaos Knight and up to 2 friendly war dogs that have not been selected to shoot or fight. You can select 1 enemy unit that is eligible for all of those knights. And if you do decide to shoot at them, that is the only thing you can shoot. If you use this strat, you get the sustained hits, but every single thing on all 3 of those knights, or up to 3 of those knights, has to target it, but you get sustained hits. This did exist in the index, at least a very similar version. It makes sense that it's back with this, but it's still, again, it's very, I don't know. I just feel like unless you're like, oh man, we've got our, we're trying to kill a Catan this turn, and you're putting in a big knight and 2 small knights with the, you got 2 brigands, you're like, we're going to melt the shit out of it, right? Like, it's in general, you're not going to bank on this. Maybe I don't know. I feel like it's okay. Up next, AOC. Did you have a comment on the last one, Steve? Sorry.
I agree. Solid B-.
Yeah. Start of the movement phase. This is the bread and butter. This is what people have wanted back. All the people who ran 16 war dogs a year ago are just all about flush the quarry, because you get to put 3 war dogs that are all within 6 of a Chaos Knight. Again, more positioning we have to do, but they can run through walls. Again, 3 whole armigers going through, war dogs going through terrain. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, and as I said before we started this off, I still think it was good when it was 2, and a lot of armies can do it with 1. The fact we can do it with 3 makes it amazing. The stipulation of being close to a big, not as good, but I could see doing this for 2 and being very happy with the results. And the play of the visual of a rampager and 3 carnivores coming through a wall at somebody is great. We're gonna win that part of the fight. I hope we do well elsewhere on the map.
Yeah. Fall back, shoot, and charge. Don't hate that. Another great strat.
A+ right there. Gosh, so good.
And then last but not least, we have a surge move. After your opponent has shot at you, you can do a D6 move and hopefully end within engagement range. You know, I had thoughts when we were reading through the enhancements for the first time. You know, this seems like a Rampager Carnivore detachment to me. And the stratagems definitely just solidified that as kind of like the simplest way to try to get value out of this detachment.
Yeah, you're not going to want to surge with your despoiler, and I don't think that you'll use a surge move much. It's just one of those things where you have a CP, and so everyone gives you 6 more inches of respect, you know, and it's just good for that. You're like, oh, here's this rampager. You really going to shoot him? He's going to be meaner next turn then, or I agree.
Yeah, it's the threat of the positioning. That's the biggest thing. And you're going to have to do a lot of positioning. So if you're very solid with your movement, maybe you're taking this over Infernal. I would say maybe you're playing on WTC boards. You want to just run carnivores and melee and have all that fun, but that's you know, that's no longer with us. WTC doesn't seem like it's something we'll be getting to play on. We're switching mostly to the new GW boards in 11. So yeah, I think, yeah, it's gonna be one of those things that, is this better than Infernal? You know, Andy, would you switch to this if you played Chaos?
You know, it's definitely got some interesting stuff. I could see if you wanted to run a more melee-based list. I was actually looking at Flush the Quarry. I was like, man, that is awesome looking at some of the new GW boards because they have like a line of walls. You could line up, you know, 3 war dogs or 3 carnivores and a a rampager right behind the wall and just roar right across the wall first turn and just go crazy. I would be interesting. I don't know Infernal enough. I know it's more of their balanced list, but looking at this stuff, I mean, this would be fun. This would just be a fun list to play because it's just eating stuff across the board as fast as you can and having the tools to be able to do it. I think that the 5-up Feel No Pain, I think that'll come into play because a lot of people try to mortal wound knights off the board so they don't have their invulnerable save. Tank shocks, explosions, stuff like that. Grenades. I agree with Steve on the Fusillade one. I don't know. It's okay, but it doesn't really play into the other builds that you're looking at. It seems more of a melee based whole detachment here. Looks fun. I don't know how competitive it is, but it looks fun.
Carnivores lost battle line. You're only taking 3.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I forgot
It's
about
not
that.
like you got 6 carnivores running across the board. As much as
Hey,
I
man, yeah.
agree that you want to lean all the way in as a rampager and 3 carnivores, you know. Then you take some stalkers and some huntsmen, but they fall off pretty quick. And so I think the goal of this attachment was to be more balanced, not just with bigs and smalls, but with melee and shooting. It's just that they seem to favor one more than the other in the
Yeah.
rules.
And
But
I think the big thing that I would hold out hope for is maybe we're going to see a rework of what some of those abilities and auras are that they are handing out. Because if they change up some of those, this could actually become a very, very good detachment to run, just based off of, because I think that's been the biggest problem I have with both versions of Knights is half of their abilities of what they do for the little Knights are just useless generally, right? Like if they were to actually have, advance in charge on, you know, some other, the Desecrator, and give the reroll ones to hit to despoilers, like would make sense, you know? If they did that, that would actually make it to like, oh man, I could really take, you know, some of these packages and feel really good about them. But alas, here we are. We have.
I'm gonna go run it, and I will find some success. Maybe at least I'll feel that way.
It's not the worst Chaos Knight detachment, so you know you're already, you know, you got something on it. It does look fun. It does look good, and you know I'm hoping, you know, maybe we'll see this in May, Steve. I don't know. I don't know what if Phil will let you, but
It's so
yeah,
hard to compete with sustained or lethal Hunt 2 despoilers, and sometimes
it's so flexible, and it does what you need it to. Like Infernal was just it was just what you needed. Like it does the thing. It fills the void on where your data sheets are missing. So
I agree, and I think that's the problem. This one's so fun, and it's nice to have nice new stuff, but it's just when the detachment rule is that much better, and then the stratagems are in the same ballpark, you go with the one that you get the rule for all the time, and you don't got to spend the CP on, because you don't get to spend all the CP. And it's just 3 inches of move, sustained, lethal, invul, feel no pain. That's all just the detachment rule. And that is just nutso compared to if you meet some stipulations, you get your own aura. And you have to run war dogs that kind of benefit from that aura too, or you're not really milking it as much as you need to. Like you're going to need to want to run some executioners, because who's going to stand next to your freaking desecrator, right? And that's not that appealing when you're like, oh, cool, my desecrator gets reroll ones if I stand him by 2 war dogs. So I got to take some shooting wardy dogs or get lucky with him in combat. It's just, I like it. It'll be fun. It'll be a different way to play Chaos Knights, but I don't think I'm the only CK fan out there that's a little jelly of IK right now and their new attachment and model.
There'll be I bet there'll be a CK version of it at some point.
I hope
I
so.
don't see them not doing that.
upgrade
But
through coming 2029, Steve.
yeah,
Look at
you
it.
got to wait a few years, Steve. You know,
It
it's
will
got to go
take that
through.
long.
It's got to go through the process. You know,
All
Maybe
right,
they'll give
awesome.
us the defiler and say it's okay.
you know.
Yeah, the Night Defiler. Yeah, that would be fun. But anyway, I think we will go ahead and wrap it up there. Phil's having some connection issues. We will be trying to check in with him. Hopefully, we'll get some updates on how their weekend at BFS is going. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Steve, for joining us. We are hoping to maybe have some night action on the stream table at some point. We've just been super swamped and haven't been able to line up games lately, but we do want to get back to it. But thank you all for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Join the Discord. Let us know, what your ideas are in there for what you are going to run in these new detachments and how you are going to kit out your Destrier. And last but not least, do not forget that victory isn't given. It is forged, and it's forged right here on Mastercrafted. We will see you all next time.